If you guys have been following the channel for a little while, you might remember that when I first started this channel, I was really influenced by a certain type of lo-fi, and particularly one record label, the style of dream hop, a record label but also sort of a subgenre of lo-fi in itself, characterized by a more joyful, uplifting, atmospheric sound. And it's something that I made a lot when I was first starting my YouTube channel, and over the past couple of years my style has changed a fair bit, but I kind of wanted to go back and rediscover that style. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So before I jump into a brand new track that I've been working on, I actually found a track that I made around about a year ago, and this was a track that I made in the style of dream hop. So I thought it'd be fun to give this a listen and then also take a look at a new track that I've been working on as well. So let's just take a listen and we'll see how this sounds. Immediately you get this really kind of upbeat, joyous feeling from the track. It's got a much more upbeat type feeling to what I normally work on these days. And let's just hear how this drop sounds. It sounds pretty nice. It's really got that sort of adventurous, uplifting style to it. Just having a look at the whole project here, it doesn't look like there's too much differentiation here between the first hook and the second hook. So let's just see if there is any difference at all. Nothing at all. So I wasn't writing separate parts for separate parts of the track. I was just kind of rinsing and repeating back then. But overall, it's a really nice sounding track. We've got loads of piano layers, which is something that I don't do in my tracks too much these days. So maybe we will try and bring that back. I don't know. So now let's jump into a new track that I've been working on. As I've been working on this track, I've been thinking about this particular style, also sort of blending that with the style of music that I've been making these days. So let's jump in and we'll take a listen and see what we think. So this here is a new track. As you can see, there's not quite as many piano layers. Well, there is, I suppose, there's 4 different piano layers, but maybe less so in piano melodies. We've got, call it 7 different guitar layers here, really simple drums. So yeah, let's break this down just from the start and see what you guys think. So the track actually starts with this piano layer. It's not just a piano layer. I've actually turned this piano up into sort of a pad, but this is how the raw piano sounds. So immediately we're getting kind of an uplifting, joyous vibe. It's in a major scale, so automatically leaning into kind of a happier vibe. I have taken that and added an EQ to roll off everything from sort of about 800 hertz down, just giving us that high end. And then I've added a Valhalla Supermassive. And on this Valhalla, we've got a large mix, about 90% mix. It's as wide as it can possibly be, and lots of feedback, big delay, and some nice kind of warping and modulation as well. So we get this pad sound. And I actually think that has sort of like an uplifting cinematic score type sound to it, and I really like the way that came out. And then on that, we've just got a limiter that is slowly fading the sound into the track. I doubled that up with a drone, and this is just a really simple drone playing a D and an A continuously throughout most of the track, and that's on the Azure piano. I turned the dynamics down to around about 10% to make it a little bit more subtle in the mix, and then I added a Flux Mini that's just ducking that sound very quickly. It's not necessarily side chaining it to anything, it's just really quickly warping that sound so we get a more interesting and dynamic soundscape from that drone. And then I've done the same with a limiter automation there as well. So we've got those 2 sounds that just fade in to start the track. Just building the atmosphere of the track here really. After they come in, I have a piano chord progression, starting here with just some really nice upbeat, uplifting style chords. And then on the first 4 bars of the piano, I use the velocities to fade those in as well, just so everything sort of gradually comes into the track. Nothing's too harsh. Along with the piano, I also have some guitars that come in. So we have this guitar up that starts playing. Then that fades in. I also have some guitar harmonic layers that come in. There's 2 of these. Initially, I wrote these as a counter melody to the main melody that comes in later in the track, but then I used them for the intro here just to slowly build and introduce something a little bit more dynamic than just an arp and piano chords. And on these, I've got some automation. So when the first one plays, the guitar pans from right to left, and then as the second one plays, it pans back left to right. So there's loads of movement on those sounds. And then at this point, I wanted to introduce the real kind of bulk of the track. So I've got a transition sound, and this transition is actually just me on the guitar playing 2 notes, hammering on and off. I then reverse the sound and drown it in reverb to get this sort of weird transition. Which just sounds super, super nice. From that transition, we've got another guitar arp that comes in here. This is a lower octave to the one we've already heard, so just adding a little bit of juice to that mid-low frequency. And then we finally get a bass comes in. This follows the root notes of the chords. And some drums. We got a kick and a snare and a hi-hat. Just really, really, really simple. This is just a work in progress at the moment. The track is not finished, so I just laid these down while I was writing the guitars and haven't really changed them since. These are just kind of my basic idea drums that I use when I'm writing guitars. But sounding super nice and got that sort of upbeat, vibey, groovy feel to it. That plays through for about 4 bars, and intentionally this was left pretty open. I didn't want the top line to come in straight away. I didn't want any main melodies to come in straight away. I really loved the way the track was sounding, as it was sort of just keep building and building the atmosphere. So then after 4 bars, we introduce our guitar top line. All of my guitars, I record them on 1 track. So I have a guitar recording track here, which runs an EQ and guitar rig 7. Once I've recorded them and I'm happy with how they sound, I freeze or flatten the sound, consolidate it, whatever you call it, in whatever DAW you're using. In Ableton, I think it's freezing and flattening. In FL Studio, I think it's consolidating. I then put each of my individual guitar tracks into individual mixer tracks so that I can process them all separately. On my top line here, I've got a TDR Nova, which is doing a little bit of dynamic EQ, just dropping some of those low mids because they're a little bit harsher than the rest. You can see they're really spiking up. So just dropping those when they hit above the threshold there. I then have another EQ, a ozone EQ, that is raising some of those high mids just to kind of balance it all out. I have a Kotelnikov doing a little bit of compression, just picking up those peaks. Nothing more than sort of 3 dBs of reduction here. And then a Valhalla Supermassive, which I think is using this long reverb preset that I built last year sometime. Might have tweaked it, but if you want the same settings, you can pause this video and steal the settings there. So with all of that, this is how the top line sounds in the mix. And after 4 bars of that, I introduced a piano melodies. This is something that you hear a lot in sort of the upbeat, chill hop, dream hop style stuff, is more piano melodies. So it's just a really simple melody here using the Originals cinematic soft piano. So that piano comes in there after 4 bars of everything playing. We drop out some of the guitar harmonics and then actually introduce another guitar arp here. So So I've got this guitar up 3. What I've done is I've faded out guitar up 1 and faded in guitar up 3. And this guitar up is just very similar but slightly different to the first one. So just playing a little bit more of a complex up there. So then I use that piano and guitar up to kind of move us into the next section of the track, which is a big break where everything cuts out except the drone and these pianos. So introduced a new piano here. This is the Whirly, and this is a super soft Whirly DI from Labs, which is a free plugin and just a really lovely kind of warm electronic sound. And I just love the way this sounds. So that doubles up the chords. Everything breaks down here. And then after a few bars of this, we drop even the main piano and just start rebuilding. Piano melody comes in. Guitar up comes back in from the intro. And at this point, you think everything else starts rebuilding. So we just bring in our bass, some of those other guitar ups and our guitar harmonics, and then essentially rebuild in much the same way as the intro did, but slightly different, keeping it a bit more interesting than the previous did. And then everything together. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And I've really loved jumping back into this style, something that I've not made in a little while. And it's just been super fun to jump back into a style that I used to really love. And I think I'm probably going to start making a bit more of this. What do you guys think? So I'd love to hear what you guys think. Is the new track better than the old track? So let's have a little recap. Here is the old track. And then here is the new track. I'd love to know what you guys think. I'm going to pin a comment at the top of this video and you guys can vote old track or new track. Let me know what you think in those comments. I'm going to be running a poll on this channel over the weekend and next week to see what video you guys want to see on the channel. If you don't subscribe, hit that button below and then you'll get a say in the videos that are coming out on this channel. And we're really close to hitting a goal of 2,000 subscribers. So I'm going to make that my goal for September. Hit that button below and subscribe to the channel. It all helps me making better content for you guys and knowing what you want to see.